Howdy, folks. General back to you. I was raised in a machine shop. My daddy set me up on a little stand that he made. Had a little handrail on it for me to hold on to, put a shield on me, and encouraged me to watch him. He was a gunsmith, and I don't know diddly squat about guns, but I watched him work. He also worked on fishing rods and fishing reels. I can work on the rods. I still am a little goofy on reels, but he could just about perform a miracle on a fishing reel. And all of the things that he did, he had me welding proficiently with an oxyacetylene torch and a coat hanger by the time I was 10 years old. And that still comes in handy every once in a while. If you got real thin metal and you don't have a TIG, I can't TIG anyway. Every time I've tried to TIG, I've touched that tungsten rod with the filler rod and I've lit myself up. So I just see it coming and I just screw it up every time. Now MIG I'm pretty good with, and stick. But anyway, that's just to tell you I know what I'm talking about. I was a machinist, and I had friends that were machinists in other places that learned things, and they'd tell me about them, and I'd use those tricks of the trade. And this fella, he was an old man to me. I mean, I was a young, and he was probably in his 60s. I'm in my 70s now, so 60s ain't too old. But to make a long story endless, he was a machinist at one of these places that made big earth moving equipment. I'm not going to put the name of the company in there, but it was a major company, and they had to run these big, huge taps in and thread areas, and they had a very high rate of breakage because of the size of these things. I mean, like a 3-inch tap. I mean, I'm not saying that it was a 3-inch tap, but it was a big tap. It might have been bigger than that. I don't know. He didn't tell me what size it was, but he said it was a big tap. And he said those things were, very expensive, extremely expensive, astronomically expensive. That's what I was trying to come out with. And he said he went to his boss and told him he knew a trick to do that would stop breaking the taps. He said, well, what do you need? He said, I need a tub of Crisco vegetable shortening, like you make biscuits with. So they had the office boy go to the local grocery store and get a tub of Crisco vegetable shortening. And they brought it out there to him, and they put that big old tap in the machine and just run that vegetable shortening thing up there on it, pulled it back, run the prettiest set of threads you ever saw. Didn't lag or nothing, just they bought out the store. I mean, he sent my friend said the company sent the office boy back to the store that he had gone to, and they bought every can of Crisco vegetable shortening that they had. And said they set up an ordering point on the stuff, and they kept it stocked. So everybody out there listening to me, pass this on. This is important. Pass this little thing on that Crisco vegetable shortening is the best tapping compound that there is. Now what I do, I take a little pill bottle about a couple of inches deep, that'll seal, and I'll put about 3 or 4 tablespoons full of Crisco vegetable shortening in there and put the lid on it, and it's got thread cutting compound on the outside. And Crisco wrote around on the back in case anybody wants to know what it is after I'm too poop to pot, And then when I get ready to tap something, I just run the tap down in it and put the lid back on it. Because you clean your taps every time, with a wire brush, clean it up good before you put it away. Well, that way you just run it down in there, and that's all that thing's going to need. You don't have to keep putting it on there. You just run it in, run it out. And it makes it so much easier to do, and then you don't have the mess all over the place. Tapping fluid runs right through the thing. Very little of it's used. Most of it runs out on the vise where you're clamped, or out on the floor for people to slip on, If you're in a controlled situation, it pumps back through and filters and all that stuff. That I don't remember the name of it. It's white cutting fluid anyway. It's what it is. And it makes it's water soluble, so it's a pumped situation where it runs it out on your work. You got a little thing that'll bend around, and it'll just pee on the work, and then that runs down, and it filters, and it pumps right back up. It's a good system. It's a coolant, all it is, coolant, and got a little bit of slickum in it. But Crisco vegetable shortening is the way to go. Now, if you're tapping aluminum, use turpentine for your cutting fluid. It'll do real good for aluminum. And I hate to watch somebody just crank it, and they never go back and pop the burr off. They just keep on cranking it, and that's going to be a real tight thread. Taps weren't made to do that. Now the power taps are, and the first tap I ever sharpened was for the water company. They had a tap that, I'd say an inch long drill bit was out on the end, and then it went into a starter tap, and the whole thing was, I guess it was 6 inches, maybe 8 inches long. And then it had this, seemed like it was square drive on the back end, or maybe it was hex head on the back end of it, where it went in this machine. And the machine had a arm that would go around behind the pipe, and we're talking about pipe now, a water pipe that big around. So this cup come around behind it, and they'd clamp it down and that centered it up and gave back pressure on it, and they drill it and tap it in the same operation. As soon as it went in there, it hit that paddle, and it'd reverse and come right back out. And then they screw their fitting on there for a tap to come off to go to a water meter. And that's how they was doing it. And they didn't have but one left, and they had one that was broke, or several that was broke. Right on the tip where it wouldn't drill. And they were working in my neighborhood, and I'd always go out and get their pocket knives and sharpen them, and bring them back to them. Wouldn't charge them nothing. And they asked, the foreman asked me, he said, "You think you can do anything to that?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I ain't never tried. I mean, you're not going to be losing anything." He said, "True." So I took it back there and sharpened it, brought it back out there to him, and said, "You just did that?" "Yeah." He said, "This one works better than the new ones do." Just what you do to it is not how much you take off, it's how little. All right, and I've done talked long enough on this video. Main thing I wanted to tell y'all, Crisco Vegetable Shortening. That's what you need to go get you a tub of it. And if you keep it in that little container, you got to clean it out every once in a while, because it does go to pot. It'll go to stinking on you. But anyway, there's you some good information for your machine shop if you do a lot of tapping, even little tapping. I don't buy any tapping fluid anymore. I have not bought tapping fluid since that man told me that, and I was in my 20s. And I'm in my 70s now. That'll give you that'll give you an idea. And I've got a lot of folks started on Crisco. All right, y'all like and subscribe, hit the bell, make comments, and it's general. I'm out.